I looked at this before we got to this call. You are the biggest on social media client that I've worked with,
Oh,
like
how about that?
Instagram and that sort of stuff. But people that don't know you, like, to try to explain like who you are, what you do for the average person watching this.
So I'm from New Jersey. I do soccer training inside of a small group session. I have a facility in Freehold, New Jersey. That's about 5,500 square feet. And we do sessions Monday through Sunday. I have a staff of coaches that help me out. And I've been doing the soccer coaching for 10 years. And the last 2, I've been in a facility.
Got it. Awesome, man. And the thing that there's only one other coach that I work with that actually does this kind of similar to how you do it. But I know if you take a step back, like your program, it's not just like how, you can help kids get better at soccer. Like I know you have like faith interwoven into that. And
Oh, yeah.
So there's a few people that I've talked to over the past year that have wanted to run their business that way. And they have thought that that's going to like maybe turn away people. But I'm curious, like, have you always run your business that way where like faith is part of it, or is that more of a recent thing?
I became a Christian in 2022. That's when I was saved. And since then, I've always included God in some fashion. But these last 2 years with the facility, I've gotten pretty adamant about it. So I'll put Bible verses on the back of each kid's shirt. And I have kids who I know aren't Christian wearing a Bible verse.
Mm-hmm.
On the back of all of my coaches' shirts, there'll be a cross and a Bible verse. So I try to keep God at the center of it. I try to lead by example and model my faith the best that I can. Do all things to glorify God. And I had that same moment where it was like, if I do this, will people reject it? Whatever. But it was actually, I live in New Jersey, which is a pretty liberal state. For those that don't know, and it's funny, you start to attract the right people. So people who don't want to do that, that's fine. But there's enough people out there who do celebrate a similar faith or are cool with their kids seeing a Bible verse that says something like, if God is for us, who could be against us? And I've had parents who aren't Christian, but they're like, hey, I like that verse because it sheds some light onto things.
That's really cool, man. That's cool. And I'm curious, is that something you talk to parents? Like, do you talk to them about that before they sign up, or do they just find that out after they become a customer?
They see it. So our process is they come in for an evaluation session, and while they're in the session, they'll see other kids with the shirt on. They'll see our coaches with their shirts on. So they kind of see right away, like, these guys are a Christian company.
Got it. That's very cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, and I've tracked this over the past like 10 years now with coaches that I've worked with, but it's kind of funny when I think about it. But the people that are in this industry that just focus on how to get better, those people tend to flake out because they don't really have a program or a deeper meaning behind what they're actually doing with their coaching. And I'm curious with you, like, since you've made Christ like the center of everything, how has that like affected your business, like, and as far as just day to day with the types of families that you're working with and just how you're running everything? Because you're running like a much bigger operation than like the guy who's running one-on-one sessions at a local park. It's not the same. But I'm curious, like, how has that affected things since 2022 or 2023?
Oh, it's been amazing. Just even the origination of getting the facility and everything, God has always had his hand on it. It's always been such a blessing. There was a point in time where I had a couple decisions to make. It was either stop doing the soccer training and start pursuing some kind of trade job. And I prayed and I spoke to God. I said, hey, God, if you want me to keep doing this coaching thing, please make it abundantly clear. And if you don't, I pray that you make that abundantly clear. And so I get a call from a parent that I train their kid, and it's a big money person. He goes, it's wintertime. He goes, find an indoor facility. I'll pay for the indoor rental and I'll pay for your training fee. I just want to make sure that they get the training in. So just call around, find a spot. I call like 15 different indoor places, basketball courts, turf places. I go, Mike, I called literally everyone until April. They're booked. He goes, all right, why don't we just make one? I go, that's funny, Mike, whatever, right? He goes, no, I'm not kidding. Find a space and I'll build it. And I go, okay. And 3 weeks later, we were open. So, that's pretty abundantly clear. I don't know how much more God could have shown that to me. And then by keeping it focused around God, you also attract the right staff. So the guys, everyone that works with us, and I didn't interview them and ask them. It just so happens that one day I see a keychain. The guy has a Bible verse on his keychain, and the other guy, his screensaver is another Bible verse, and everyone celebrates a similar faith, and they see that in the facility and the values that we preach, and it's easier for the coaches who share those values to get behind it and also extend that to the families that we get to work with, and the families appreciate things like don't be lazy. There's no reward for being laziness. No lazy bones. So
right. That's awesome. Yeah, because I could see how that could be a disconnect if the guys that were working for you weren't that way. Because it'd be hard to listen.
The one guy I had to fire was not a Christian. Not because, and I didn't even fire him. The way it panned out was he starts his own side business.
There you go.
Doesn't tell me about it. I go, hey, is this your business? And he goes, it's my friends. I'm just helping them out. And I go, well, that looks like you training, and you're doing private lessons with some of the kids in our facility outside the facility. So I'll give you two options. You could either do your own thing or work here, but you can't do both.
Right.
And the last words this kid said to me was, I'm going to go help my friend out. So
he fired himself.
He fired himself. So
gotcha.
Yeah, that's the only time someone, and again, I don't interview and ask, are you a Christian? But that was the only time a non-Christian worked for us, and that's what happened.
Right.
So
Gotcha. Cool, man. And so let's go back to, because you've been in this, you said, for 10 years, right?
Yeah, ever since college, I've been doing the soccer training.
Got it. So I have really vivid memories of the first couple clients that I ever worked with that actually paid for training. I thought it was the craziest, weirdest experience. Why are they giving me money? And I thought it was so awesome. But if you go back into time, with the first people you ever worked with, what was that experience like for you? When you actually charged someone to train with you?
Well, it was an interesting one. I was working out to get ready for my college season, and this little kid with a mohawk walks up to me with a ball and goes, hey, my dad and I were watching you work out, and I wanted to see if I could kick the ball around with you. And I go, okay, no big deal. I'll kick it around with you, this 9-year-old. And I start kicking it back and forth with him. And then I'm like, all right, let me see how good this kid is. And I pop it up a little high, and the kid juggles it out of the air and volleys it back to me. And I go, oh my goodness, I hope I can keep it up. And I started talking to the dad after. He goes, if you want, we can do this. I like it if you would train my kid and this and that. And I was like, okay, that'd be cool. I didn't even try to charge him. And after the first couple of times we were kicking the ball around, the guy would give me cash. And I was like, I really appreciate that. I almost thought of it as a tip, right. I didn't even think of it as a business model. And that was the first kid I ever had. And that kid actually went on to play Division I college soccer.
Wow. Amazing.
The first, he just walked up to me and kicked the ball around me and then turned into that. And then he sometimes works with us in the facility, but now he's actually playing his senior year at NJIT.
Wow. That is so crazy, man.
So for me, that was such a weird, okay. And then that guy, he was the kind of parent where if he thought something was, he would tell everybody and share it with everybody. And then after that, he recommended me, and then I got 4 or 5 kids. And then, eventually I started to build a little book of business.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So that was when you were in college?
Yeah, yeah. I was actually in between seasons.
Got it. And then like, what was the most amount of kids you had while you were in college that you were training?
I probably would see 10 to 12 kids a week for one-on-ones.
Got it. Cool. And then after you graduated, what were you still like training that amount of kids, or were you like, this is what I want to do? Like what happened right after you graduated?
So after I graduated, I decided I'm going to pursue the soccer thing because I enjoy it. And I was going to become a physical therapist, but I didn't want to take on the student loan debt. So I was like, what's another thing I can do that could make pretty good money? And I started doing the math in my head. Well, if I get a small group session, I charge each kid this much, maybe there's some substance to it, but it's all I had. It's all I really had and really all I really liked. So then I started, I reached out. Well, this is actually a kind of another funny story. I'm playing, my friend calls me and goes, hey, I need a ride to play in this men's league. And he goes, if you bring me, you could play on my team. We get there and his team goes, we have too many players. You can't play. So essentially I was a free Uber service. And this little British guy comes up to me and he goes, hey, I need a player. Can you play? And we end up playing against my friend's team. And I scored 3 goals. And we won 3-2. And the little British guy goes, hey, I run this soccer company. Could you work for me? And I go, well, what do you guys pay? He's like, oh, $30 an hour. I go, yep, I'll do that.
Cool.
That was my first little, like, I worked for somebody, but it was a really cool setup because at the time, working for $30 an hour right out of college and doing it part-time was good money. And that guy eventually recommended me to a couple teams. And so I had a couple teams, and then that spiraled into like me doing clinics and private lessons, and started to build a little bit more of a serious business, but not exactly like a full-time income.
Got it. Got it. And when did you get it to the point where you were doing it full time? Like how many years did that take you?
That probably took me like 6, 7 years, but that was only because I didn't have any real guidance or understanding of how to run a training company. That's right. That's right around when I first called you.
Yeah. Got it. And I'm curious, like, I mean, you have so many clients that you're working with right now. Like, I think if you said the number out loud, people wouldn't believe it because like it's hard for people to stretch their minds that big. But when you think about when we originally talked, and then you know after that, after you kind of joined our program and kind of went through the process, like what do you feel like was the biggest change you made to like get it to the point where you could do it full time? Because you've been doing it on the side, or and you had clients, but obviously now it's so different than even after we started working together. But what was the key changes that you made to do it full time?
Uh, Removing the pay-as-you-go model, having a subscription service or a subscription membership, and making it more of a program than just sessions.
Mm.
That once I had the agreement when they sign up and it's all online and everything, it removed any friction. It made it clear for the customer and clear for me what the obligation was in terms of training, what days it was, when to sign up, when to show up, and how much it was and what they're getting, and the refund policies and all those little things that you don't think about when you're trying to expand. Like if you don't have a good foundation, it's really hard to start building on top of it. It's like you're building a sandcastle.
Right.
But once I going through your program, once I understood like, okay, here's how you form an agreement. And then one of the calls that we had that it was a little bit like I felt like I was like, it was silly, but you're like, if you're gonna have a policy and let the parents run over you, then why even have it?
Yeah, no
And
reason.
I was like, all right. So then I started being a little bit more firm with how we do things, and that helped as well.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, just really professionalizing the business more with like the little details. And now, fast forward to where it is 2025, how many active customers are in your business right now?
Over 250 on a monthly subscription.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, our highest we got to was like 270 and that's like peak winter season where you're in the wintertime. But yeah, right now, even entering school, we're still over 250, which I was even surprised about.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how many coaches do you have right now that are helping
I
you?
have, I have one full-time guy who he's on a salary. Then I have uh, four part-timers
Got
that
it.
alternate days and
Got
whatnot.
it. Cool. So I know if someone's watching this right now, they're probably thinking, how are they training 250 kids per week? Obviously, everything's done in group setting, right? And you have some one-on-one stuff, right, that you guys provide, like in
Yeah,
non.
we do one-on-one sessions, but that's really supplemental to the business. Um, the way we organize it is we have sessions from 5 to 9. They're 1 hour sessions, Monday through Friday. Along with during those hours, we have a small gym in the facility. So you could do your skills session, you could do your speed and strength session. And then on the weekend, we provide speed and agility training, pickup soccer, and then we have a foundations session as well on Sunday for beginner players. And that runs Monday through Friday. And we do groups of, it's supposed to be capped at 16, but like there's a few times where like 30 kids just show up and you're like,
Right.
all right, this is a lot, but we're gonna make it work. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And how many, so let's say there's 16 kids there. How many coaches are there running the session? Is it just one coach or do you have?
No, it's me and usually 1 to 2 other coaches. So we really try to give each kid a lot of individual feedback. So 2 to 3 coaches usually, especially if we think it's going to be an overpack session, like our Wednesdays for whatever reason. A lot of times 20 kids show up, so we'll have 4 coaches there.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And then the average family out of the 250 members, like, what are they signing up for? Is it once a week? Or are they coming more than once a week?
So we like the way we do it is like it's a 1 time per week membership, but included in that membership is speed and strength, speed and agility, pickup soccer, and then their 1 time per week skill session. And yeah, it's a really well-rounded program in terms of like what they get. And a lot of kids like those, I'll see some of the same kids like 4 days a week, 5 days a week, just in there all day. Like they almost live there, but the results are like ridiculous.
Yeah, I can imagine. Got it. Got it. And how different is it now being in this facility versus your business before that? Because I remember some of the funny stories you had about like
Oh,
the snake in the shed and the light that you put up. But like, how different is it now?
just like it's completely different because there's a lot more continuity with the customers. So, for example, when you're on a grass field and it rains and you have to credit sessions and stuff like that, it's it almost seems like very childlike. Like, okay, there's the guy that just is in the park.
Hmm.
But when you structure it and you have a facility and then you never have to cancel rain, snow, whatever, because of that continuity, it's a higher level of service. The people don't have to worry about if the session is on. This past year, we ran 349 days of training.
Wow.
So we only missed a few days for like Christmas and other things.
All right. Christmas, Thanksgiving, and probably Easter. Is that it?
Yeah, like certain holidays and days where, and like for example, like Memorial Day, we were going to do the sessions, but only like 2 kids showed up. So instead of them, and then you give your staff a little bit of a break, etc.
Right.
So yeah, like over 340 days of training continuous. That's no cancellations. We haven't canceled since we got the facility. Like it's pretty intense.
Yeah. And that's physically, like in your area, it's physically impossible to do outside because of like the winter.
Oh yeah, the even in the summer, the rain, some of these storms. Like yesterday during the session, I'm having to yell over thunder. It's thundering so hard that
Wow.
I'm yelling almost at the top of my lungs. Okay, guys, next one. So I can't imagine being outside. Like you can't.
Right. Gotcha. And for people, because I talk to people a lot that are like, oh, I'm gonna have a facility, but I've looked and I'm not making enough to be able to do it. But I'm curious, like, what is one thing you know now about having a facility that you didn't know that someone needs to know before they get it?
Well, oh man, if you get a facility, be sure,
Mhm.
because when you start dealing with six figures in rent, you really, you, I think I took like a few months at the end of my life off because of the stress.
You got some gray hairs.
Yeah, I got already gray hairs. I'm 28. I know, I have a child too, but when you feel that amount of money leaving your bank account on the first of every month, naturally your hunger level increases. But if you are half in it, half out of it,
You can't do that.
do not even think about opening the door to a facility. You have to be all in. Like, so okay, I'll give a pretty good example. Before I hired any real staff, I worked sometimes 80 something days in a row without a break. Just there all day, every day,
Mhm.
calls, text, emails, running each and every session, Monday through Sunday. So
Mhm.
uh, be sure, and also make sure that you love it, because if you don't,
Right. You can't.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, to do 80 days in a row, and some of the kids, they're not easy,
Right.
there's difficult kids out there.
Right.
Yeah, be sure. And I'm very blessed for how it's grown with the number of players, but I'm very blessed with my staff. That's another thing too, man. Hiring people is, I didn't realize how much anxiety I would have when I'm not there and there's a session running.
Mhm.
Like, there's all kinds of stuff that can happen. So for example, one of the sessions that I was actually at, we're doing unopposed dribbling. This kid falls on the ball and falls backwards and breaks their arm
Oh boy.
in the middle of a session. So I'm not like, so whenever I have a coach running the session and I'm not there, I just come up with all these. So
Right.
that's the one thing I would have would be sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's a different level of commitment. And
Yes.
yeah. And I can't talk about that because I never ended up getting a facility when I ran my business, because like everything was done outside, because like I mean the weather here is very different
Mhm.
than up there. But I do think the people that I've talked to that aren't fully committed, they it's a rude awakening. And if they don't really love coaching, it's like you can't teach that. That's just, you either love it or you don't. But that's,
Yeah.
I think I remember talking to you, I think in the, like right after you got in there, and it was in the midst of you doing those like 8 days in a row, and I could see how exhausted you were.
Yeah.
uh, but now it's very different because like you have the help, you have people that are helping you run the stuff, and you fought through that time period. Is there anything else outside of that you think someone should know, just like day to day, about running a facility?
Mm, yeah. I mean, there's upkeep. Um, like the other day, a light went out, and I'm really scared of heights, so I had to have one of my employees go on a scissor lift and go up there and try to fix a light. And they're not even an electrician. Like, it's just like it's the trade-off you make to have the stability of a facility. There's definitely, it's not like you get the facility, the door is open, and you're a multimillionaire.
Right.
That there, you are still fighting tooth and nail. The thing is, you're just not braving the weather.
Yeah.
You know,
That element is completely gone, and you can have more consistency in your sessions. That financially you have a way bigger opportunity if your clients are committed.
that's exactly it. Like, you because you have the consistency, you could have more, like, the clients stay with you longer and they're more consistent, and it's a more well-rounded program. I was talking to, so the guy who's a full-time and guy with us, he was going to be one of like my groomsmen at my wedding. I'm really close friends with him, and we were saying how, like, yeah, this is tough, but if you don't have the facility, you can't go big. You could do 30, 40, 50, 60 kids. Maybe if you rent the facility, like an already existing venue, you could have a little bit more consistency, but it's just not the same as like when people are essentially stepping into your house. There's a level of respect that you gain just by maintaining something like that.
Right. Do you sublease your spot to anybody right now or no?
No. I don't rent it out. The few times I rented it out, things broke. People didn't pay invoices, and so I just don't even deal with it anymore.
Got it. Got it. Cool. So 250 clients, you have a full-time coach with you. Are you there every day still, or are there days that you're not there? How is your daily schedule set up?
When everybody is like right now, it's August. There's a couple guys on vacation, so I'll probably be there 5 to 6 days this week. But when everyone is full tilt, I only have to be there 4 days a week.
Got it. Is it like a set 4 days out of the week, or any?
I try to just do Monday through Thursday, and I try to enjoy time with my family Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Got it. Got it. And I'm curious, how different is that? Just like that one thing alone, having that free time on those 3 days, than not having that?
It's everything, because when you don't get that rest, the stress really like eats you up. So by not being on your feet for, sometimes I'll do 2 private lessons before I do the 4 hours of classes. So you're on your feet for 6 hours, talking, explaining, demonstrating, changing direction, hitting shots, showing the kids. And when I was wearing an Apple Watch, it'd be like an average of 20,000 steps a day. So just the physical fatigue and mental fatigue, if you don't take a break, it really, really wears you out. So having those 3 days has been really, really good.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't really get that until they experience it, but like how physically demanding it is. And just talking a lot for an extended period of time, that just, I don't know, especially for someone like me, because like I'm naturally like introverted, but like I can be on for the time I need to be on, but it's hard to like have that level of energy for day after day after day and have the same level of intensity with your coaching, because it's like, I don't know, it's physically hard. And I think a lot of people don't really think about that because they're so excited to go train kids. But when you have those back to back group sessions, and there's a little bit of pressure because people are paying, it is different, and you have to have time off. Like that has to be built in for you to have the sustain.
Yeah, at least 1 day a week, you have to just fully shut it down.
Yeah. Gotcha, man. So let's see here. I'm trying to see. Okay. No, I'll edit this part. But when you think about, because I think you have a different perspective with this than most people that I encounter. But how important do you think has like your social media been, a key to your success with where you're at now?
Very important. So it lends itself to a level of credibility, so long as the content you're producing actually makes sense.
Yeah.
I see a lot of guys, even if they have a lot of followers, their content is like, I'm like, okay, if I was someone trying to learn what this guy's teaching, I couldn't apply that.
Yeah, they're like jumping out of airplanes with parachutes, juggling a soccer ball.
Yeah, it's like, all right, dude, you look strong, but I don't know how I, as a kid, would be able to take that and apply it. So it depends on I've seen people who don't have a lot of followers, but their content is really educational, and they get more customers that way. And I've seen people who try to get as many followers as they can, and that's not always the best thing either. I think having a mix of, if you can create a stimulating, educating form of content, that's what's going to help you build your credibility, build customers. So I think it's important if you do it the right way. But, this past year, I really haven't posted much because I've just been so busy with the baby and the business that I haven't posted much. And that now that I'm kind of like over the hump of building up, I don't have to post as much. But in the beginning, I was posting 2 times a day for like I say like 9 months straight.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of,
That's a part-time job.
yeah, that was 20 hours a week of just going to the field, filming, editing, posting, and trying to grow the page. So I definitely recommend that if you're in that earlier stage of your soccer coaching journey or whatever other sport you do, that if you have the time and energy to do that, I do recommend doing it. Just do your best to make sure that it's educational first and foremost and entertaining second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I've always looked at it like if parents are watching something, if they can't understand it, uh, it's going to be hard for them to like trust that person with their child. Like if it looks like a Mission Impossible movie, it's like
Yeah.
what are we doing here? Yeah, I see all sorts of wild stuff online from coaches, but cool. So and you've grown that page, and how important? And we haven't talked about this in a while. That's why I want to ask you. But how important has like paid ads been for you? Are you still?
I mean, I've hit capacity at my facility, so I don't run any ads. I don't do any email marketing. I don't do any text blasts. I'm full. So whenever we take on more kids, it's funny. Like the most, I've only had one ever complaint about my training, and it was because there's too many kids there,
Right.
which is like, it's a good problem to have, but
Mm-hmm.
it's becoming a problem that there's too many kids in the program, because just for safety reasons, if you have 30 kids inside of a 5,000 square foot room, you could organize it well and you could run the session, but it's just too chaotic for my liking. I like smaller groups. I like more refined attention giving. It's a
Right.
better service to me. But so that's I've gotten to the point now where I either have to get a bigger facility or start cutting kids from my program, which is like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if I have the heart to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes to show too, like when someone gets their business to that point, it's like you can't do that unless you have a quality program. Like, if you have more people that want to work with you, you have to, if 50 people reached out this week, you'd have to say no.
Right.
And most people never get their business to that. Like, they're just wanting to take on whoever's knocking on their door and sign up little Johnny to a lesson.
Yeah, it's it's funny, like there's some kids, like, one of the things I have an issue of too is like I'll take on a kid coming from rec soccer. We have one kid that went from rec soccer to playing on one of the top 3 teams in New Jersey at the 8-9-year-old age group. Like over the course of a year, he just worked really hard. He got his skills up. He was naturally pretty athletic. So I don't really turn kids away unless I think they're a behavioral issue.
Yeah.
Because this kid, he was the perfect example of a kid who had the potential. He just needed somebody to. Now, when I read his training application, it did say rec soccer, but that's why we do like the evaluation session. Like, here's what we think of here's how we think we could help them. Here's if we don't think we can help them, we tell them that too.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that really protects you because they're coming into the group, and if they're a bad seed, it will ruin the coach's experience, all the other players' experience, and that's when I think a lot of coaches have a hard time with that. It's like they have kids in the program that shouldn't be there, and it really messes up their business on the back end.
Yeah,
and I'm
you have
curious.
more people cancel for that than anything else.
Yeah, yeah,
I want my kid training next to that kid.
yeah. I'm curious to see how you think, but how, like, do you think it's possible to run this type of facility business if you didn't have subscriptions?
No. I've actually if you don't have a membership model or a subscription model and you do a pay as you go, the wackiest stuff occurs. So, for example, when we just opened the facility, I had a membership model, but I was allowing people to drop in and do, we called it train and play, where they could come in. It's almost like a clinic where they train for 45 minutes and they scrimmage, play 3v3, 4v4, just so I could get the word out and have people see it and experience it. And people would just show up.
Yeah.
And because it was open, you kind of like, you weren't going to ask the kid, did you pay? It's not the kid who's paying.
Right.
So then you're like, I don't even know whose parent this, like the kid, like parent this is of this kid. So then you're just kind of like, right.
Yeah.
You know, and but now with the subscription model and having a process, you can really be like, here's what we're doing, and you can't just bring your kid. But I've had, even with that, you still have people who their card declines. Yeah, I'll get to it. A month rolls by.
Mm.
Like, all right, and then you hit them with a final invoice because they still haven't paid and they just disappear. So I've had that too, but that's out of the hundreds of kids we worked with, that's maybe happened once or twice.
Yeah. That's a rare thing. Yeah. It's a common thing for a lot of coaches out there with the default cards, but it's a rare thing for you because I know if someone gets that email from Stripe or whatever saying that their card was declined, like because they really value your program, they're going to want to go fix that ASAP. That's the difference.
Right. And you know, like the parent who did just like not answer, I wish they spoke to us prior to, because if they were in some kind of situation, not that, you know, we give discounts or anything like that, but it would have made it at least an easier
Right.
thing. Like, you know, I feel bad for the kid because the kid loved being there, but
Yeah.
the mom kind of made a mess of that.
Yeah. Very little you can do there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so when you, like, let's go back to when you originally got into the facility. How many like monthly subscriptions did you have at that point?
I think I had like 40 to 50, depending on, it was actually interesting because we're coming out of the winter and entering the spring. So my subscriptions were starting to dwindle a little bit as the seasons changed. But then I changed like my model in May. And that's when it really just blew up.
Got it. And so you like have basically 5x your business since then. If you think about the amount of members you had, if you had 40 to 60,
Yeah.
How, as far as marketing, what was like the number one strategy that you had during that time to like bring in new people outside of like word of mouth, just having the facility?
The paid Facebook ads really helped us in the beginning, because when you could just pop up on someone's phone who has a kid that plays soccer and explain like, here's what we offer, it's a really strong form of marketing to be able to just appear on someone's phone and make your offer right then and there. So I would say the Facebook ads, but also, you know, as I'm running the Facebook ads and people are seeing my Instagram account and kind of getting to know me via the content, having that blend of making content and then running ads from a strong Instagram page, it lends itself to a higher level of credibility. So they're more likely to fill out the form. Whereas if I had a couple hundred followers and my videos were weird or not educational, I don't think it would work as well.
Right. And do you think that can work equally as well? Like, let's say there's a coach that has 300 followers and they're running ads and they have good content on their Instagram page. Like, do you feel like that strategy can work really well for that type of person as well?
Yeah, it depends. It really depends on how good their content is and what they're posting, right? If they're posting random trick shot videos,
yeah,
I don't think so. But if they are showing themselves actually coaching a kid and doing a good job, I think if you have 300 followers, but your content is that, parents are like, okay, this guy does, I could see the product that I would be purchasing.
Right. Yeah. Because I think a lot of times when I look at what coaches post online, it's not even that clear that they're actually a coach. It's because it's like a lot
They're
of it
players still. Yeah.
It's like it looks like they're like a pro player, or like it's the way it's actually shown to people, it doesn't look like they're a coach, and then their bio says that they're a coach, but there's kind of like a mismatch there. And that's why I think some of those people that are doing that type of marketing and they're running ads, like it just looks disconnected. Looks
100%.
like everything, because most people that see an ad are going to click on your page and look at it and see what's going on before they give you their phone number or email, whatever you're trying to get.
Yeah. And like, let's say you're not coaching a kid, but you're breaking down how to shoot or how to pass a ball. When someone sees how clear you can explain something and that you could actually do it, they can imagine the feedback you could give their child being able to do it. So even if you don't have videos of you coach, or maybe the people you work with don't want to be filmed, you can still create educational content that allows someone to realize, okay, this person can explain, demonstrate, and give feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 All that matches up. Cool, man. So let's say there's a coach that reaches out to you and they're like, "Hey, Stefano, I saw your interview with Ben, and I'm wanting to get into the coaching business, and like maybe it's a college kid. They were the same age you were when you started.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is like a good piece of advice to someone who's like just wanting to start in the business? Because I'm going to try to break this into like 3 different questions with you, but like someone who's just starting, what sort of advice would you give them?
Like from zero.
Yeah, like no clients, nothing.
And they've never run a session before.
They have like some experience, maybe with like club soccer, like coaching.
Okay. All right. So if they know how to do a half decent job and they want to start building clients, I think the fastest way would be to go to local travel teams and go and say, "Hey, I want to give your team a free clinic,
Mm-hmm.
so long as I can collect their emails and phone numbers, and I can reach out to them after the fact." If they can do 5 to 10 of those free clinics, they'll probably get about 10 players that they can start training. And if they're really selective with the teams, right? Like that's a smart thing would be, let's say you want to work with 9 and 10-year-old players, focus on going to travel teams that have 9 and 10-year-old players. That way, when you form the group, you don't have a 12-year-old next to a 9-year-old. You have all the same age. I think doing something like that, building good rapport with local teams and doing free clinics, and then having them come in and then say, okay, here's what our program entails. I think that's the fastest thing. We in the beginning of the facility, we did a lot of free trials. I would say like 200 free trials, and the majority of the people rip you off. Like they're not there to check it out; they're just there for a free session. But I would say that 50% of the people who did a free trial and then signed up stayed with us for over 9 months.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So,
and it's because you demonstrated the coaching. That goes back to that strategy of going to teams. And because I know a lot of people, when they try to start something like this, they're trying to get to the money as quickly as possible. And it's like, if someone doesn't know you, like you, or trust you, they're not going to give you anything. And
right.
that strategy, though, like it's literally what I did at the beginning of my business. That's how I got probably my first 500 customers. It was like literally just going to, like I did that with like the YMCAs in my area, because I try to target rec players,
Yeah,
and help that niche. But that's all I did. I didn't have social media. I had the worst website in the world. It said Nabers Soccer Academy. It had a soccer ball, and then it said contact us. That was my whole website.
nice, perfect.
It was terrible. But yeah, so that's a great strategy, man, to get coaches out to actually demonstrate. So let's say, if someone does that, they get, 10, 15 clients out of that. Maybe they're training those kids one-on-one or in a group, and they're making, we'll just say like $4 or $5 grand a month type of thing. What would be something that you would recommend if someone's like doing it as a side hustle, and how to take that person to get them to do it full time? Like meaning like full-time income, like 7 to 10 grand a month type of thing, like before taxes.
Yeah, so before I had the facility, when I was able to break over 10,000, it was when I was renting an already existing venue. Parents don't want to show up to a field and get kicked off the field when you're training their kid. And I've had parents who I can tell they didn't like that happened during their session. And I don't know if I was really like, in the beginning, I was I was charging like $45 an hour. And I had people that they would experience that during the session, and I would see them on Instagram training with somebody else like 2 weeks later, you know?
Yeah.
So people don't like when they get messed around because you don't have a more serious business. People respect it when you do things like you have a venue, right? And it doesn't take much, right? You could go to like a local church and form a relationship with them. And one of the first venues I got where I was able to start being a little bit more serious was my church had a grass field. That's where the snake was, or I was literally hitting a snake with a soccer cone, like trying to get him off the field before there's cars pulling up, and I'm fighting a snake, trying to get him off the grass field right before the session, because there was that little creek near the field where things would just, I guess, grow over there. And but so I actually was the assistant coach of the church's high school girls soccer team, and because I did that and I maintained the field, I would go there with my brother and mow it. Right, so they didn't charge me anything, but I took care of the field, I cleaned it up, and I was the assistant coach. I had a venue.
You made it work.
Yeah, you could find it out there. Churches, even local. Like I even went to an elementary school one time and filled out all these forms and stuff, and they did give me time slots. I just didn't like how they said if the kids have this, that you can't use the field that day. I wanted more consistency. So you could, but there's stuff out there where you don't have to pay an exorbitant amount. You're going to be outside, but at least you have a venue.
Right. You have a regular place you can do it from, which that's very different than having to get kicked off or switch every Tuesday to a different place. Cause you have to kind of treat it. I always looked at it for me, like the cadence that club soccer has, I had to have the same sort of thing for my business. Cause like with club soccer, they're going to have Tuesday, Thursday practice, same place. Like nothing about it changes. And parents have to have that part of like regular schedule built into their week. Otherwise they're just, they can't commit.
No. And then that was another reason why our model really helps us, because they can schedule things Monday through Friday and come to things on Saturday and Sunday. It's like, there's never a thing where like, oh, we can't make it that day. It's like, you pick the day you want to show up and just book it.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
But that's what happens when you have a venue or a facility, is like the scheduling booking thing no longer becomes an issue.
Right.
And now they can actually access your training and be a member of your program.
Right. Got it. So then, let's say someone has that facility or, the regular place they train from. So let's take them now from going from, full time to $20K a month, or hiring their first coach. Like for you, what do you think is more important? Is it getting enough clients and then bringing on a new coach, or is it like bringing on a new coach like while you're trying to grow it? Like what was your method as far as like when you actually brought on your first coach?
So I had the facility March 1st of 2024, and I hired my first, my friend who became like the full-time guy, June 20th. And hitting a point of stability before you take somebody on, right? Because I couldn't imagine looking at somebody and saying, hey, you worked all week, I don't have the money. Yeah. In my own conscience, I could never do that, or say like, hey, I'll just wait, I'll pay you. Like here's one thing that I think my everyone that works with me enjoys, is I pay them every Monday,
same time,
every week. They don't have to wait 2 weeks. It's every Monday, every week.
I love that.
They don't have to worry about like, is there money going to be in my account? No, it's there every week. You work a week, you get paid right away. Like it's not, because I had a bad experience. So the guy that was paying me $30 an hour, he wasn't the owner of that company. He was he was like the manager of it, but the owner was like, why are you giving some 19-year-old $30 an hour? And then the guy tried to like mess me around. I had to wait a few weeks to get my money. And so I just never wanted to give that experience to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
no, it makes sense, because it puts you, because it puts you in a risky situation when you bring someone on if you don't know deep down you can pay them, and you can't forecast out how much is coming in over the next X amount of months or whatever. Got it. So let's try to talk to the people when I asked you this, like, because I have my own perspective on this, and this has changed a lot over the past, I've been self-employed for 15, 16 years now. But for someone that's making 8-10 grand a month, how do they go from that to, like, because you don't need to talk about how much you're making, but I know it's a sizable amount. But how do they go from 8-10 grand to like 20 to 30K a month?
Well, if they do have the venue and they have the correct model and they have the correct like program organization, if you have those elements right, and then when people, you also have to have a really good service. Like, I remember a little bit of a side quest here. I was doing like jujitsu, like grappling, and I was taking a bus, and then after I got off the bus in Manhattan, New York, I would have to walk like 3 blocks to go find this jujitsu school. And the only marketing that they had was outside of their spot, like the facility, was a flag that just said Renzo Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
That was their only marketing. But when I was in the room, there was people flying in from Dubai. Yeah. Here I am taking a bus to different states to go find it, and walking New York when there's snow on the ground, because they had the best coaching in the world right there. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're stuck at 8 to 10 grand, I would say first check to make sure that your service is excellent. Like right now we have 97 5-star reviews. We don't have a single 1-star review. Not everything. We have almost 100 5-star reviews, and a lot of them we don't like prompt the parent to give us those. They
go do it.
So if your program, if your foundation of your program is that your training is awesome, okay, now layer on, you have a venue, stability, consistent sessions, and people don't have to worry about scheduling with you because you have it available Monday through Friday. Then, okay, now let's add in some paid advertising, some content, some marketing, etc. Maybe doing free clinics and letting people come and train and doing free trials. And then once you get to that point, if you're really grinding it, it'd be difficult not to be at 20,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I've always looked at the coaches that I've dealt with that are doing like 20 to like 70K a month right now.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of those people has the premier program in their state. Like that's, to me, that's kind of like the foundation of how they've gotten to grow, because the clients they get stay. That's just how it is.
I'm in a very competitive market myself.
Yeah.
I have guys who are on Instagram have over 1 million followers. I have guys who they've been doing this probably another 5 years longer than I am. There's one guy, I'm not going to name their name, but they get the best and largest indoor soccer facility. I mean, this facility is beautiful. The turf, there's a mezzanine that overlooks it. It's a full 11v11 field that they have complete access to for free. But they're 15 minutes down the road. But if your product is good enough, you can still. So for anyone that's saying, oh well, like there's somebody else who's the premier service right now. They've been doing this in their facility for 7 years. This is only my 2nd year in the facility, and to be at capacity within 2 years, I think goes to show it's how much the program gives to these kids. And we do a lot of staff education. So even if I'm not there, it's the same quality, it's the same level of service, knowing each kid's name and giving really precise feedback. I
Yeah.
think that's the whole game.
Yeah. Yeah. Those, and I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with when they think about trying to get this to a point where they bring on another, just even if it's just one other coach. It's like the quality has to be the same whether you're there or not for this to be a reliable thing. If you wanted to take 3 days off for a week, otherwise you have to be there, and like you can't really hire anyone. It's just the whole business is built around you and your name, which I
Right.
know that happened to me initially until I started bringing on the right types of coaches back in the day. But
Yeah. And the people who are scared that people are going to wonder, like, where are you? I had that at first, like the first couple times, or like for example, when I went on my honeymoon, people were talking to the coaches that I had there, like, where is he? Oh, he's on his honeymoon. They're like, oh, okay, well, like, no big deal there. Or like when I had my daughter, a few of them were like, that was probably the most interesting thing. The week I took my honeymoon was the first week ever I took off. That was the first time I took off more than one day. Maybe the first time I even took off a single day. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? The next year I have my daughter and I'm out for 2 weeks. No one asked about me.
right.
Maybe they knew I had a daughter, so they kind of gave me a little bit more grace. But I know there's some kids in the facility that prefer the other coaches to me because I'll hear them say, I like Coach Malcolm better.
That's awesome though.
I'm like, yeah, you gotta like them, love them. Yeah. It's funny. Like you get to a point where like when you're first upcoming, you're like, it's my name, and then you get to a point where you're like, those guys are really cool over there.
Yeah, because then you can shine the light on them because they can.
Yeah, and they do such a good job. The guys that work for me, it's really it's a real blessing that I get to work with these guys and that they do, like, you could just tell they're doing such a great job, and the parents see it, and the environment in the room, everyone's smiling, working hard. The faces are red, but they're smiling. They're working so hard, their faces are red and their sweat's everywhere. But it is exactly. I'm so thankful. It's exactly what I could have hoped for. And if I could have gone back to myself as a 19-year-old and say like, hey, one day you're gonna be here, I would have been like no way. I can't imagine that 250 something kids a month. No, like you're crazy.
Right. Yeah, that'd be tough to imagine back then. And it's funny because now I sit here when you're talking, I'm thinking about what you're imagining now for 5 years from now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in an interesting position because I have the 5,000 square foot facility, and our lease is coming up in 18 months.
Okay.
So I have to start planning now if we're going to stay here, but we're really interested in going into a bigger facility.
Cool. Same area.
Yeah, there's a couple of already zoned for sports warehouses within a couple blocks from where we are that are, instead of being 5,000 square feet, they're 25,000 square feet. So, yeah. So, and we're going to try to make like 5v5, like boarded fields, and then maybe start like indoor soccer leagues and stuff. But we still a lot of planning involved in that. We don't want to jump the gun because that rent for 25,000 square feet.
Don't even tell me.
It's over 300K.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
for a year.
Per year.
Yeah.
That's like, it makes my current rent look like chump change.
Right. Yeah. The crazy thing about that though is like, if you run like a really well organized machine of like an adult league, for example, I think you could probably do 250 to 300K just off of that, like without any training, just that. And it, because you would have so much space.
Oh yeah.
To run multiple games per hour. And like, because those, I don't know, down here, like all the adult stuff, it happens at like 9 to midnight, stuff like that. Like that's why it's
hot, right?
Yeah. The indoor places that do it, they'll it'll be like late at night because they have programs that run.
Oh, wow.
But they can get, tons of teams to sign up. And yeah, there's all sorts of ways, but it's cool, man. So that's on the radar. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah. We have a few guys that are willing to back us because they really love what we do. And so we have the capital to do it. We just have to find the right place and make the right agreement. One of the things that when I first got this facility, I didn't realize how quick 3 years goes by.
Yeah, it's
Like to already be thinking like I have to consider renewing this one or get moved to the next one is like, I still remember the first few training sessions I did in this facility where it was like me and like a high school kid that like was like, hey, I'll come help, So it's crazy to think now. It's like, all right, do we go big or just stay the same? But pros and cons of both.
Yeah, just pray about it. See what happens. Cool, man. So I'm curious. This is a question I've liked asking people that get to this call that have actually worked with me. But like, who would you say that my program is not for?
People who think people who think that by signing up for a program it instantly makes them money. You provide all the resources, all the education necessary, but if you're lazy and you're not planning on taking action, it's not going to work. If you think that the success is immediate after you sign up, it's not. Now, the learning curve, like once you implement the things you're doing, I would say after a few months, you'll see a noticeable improvement if you're working on it. But if you're lazy and you're a complainer, I don't think so. I don't think you should sign up.
Yeah. And that type of person in general
don't win.
Struggle in business. Like they shouldn't. And I've always thought about this too. Like, it's kind of hard to say out loud, but when I look at just like the coaching industry in whole, it's like if kids are looking up to you or your assistant coaches, like they have to be around a leader, someone who's like just a legit leader on and off the field. And it's hard if you don't have that sort of attitude or mindset about life. It's like it's going to be hard to have a business. And I think coaching is the wrong industry for someone to choose if they don't have that within them.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. I got the John Maxwell Leadership Bible.
Yeah.
When someone takes a stance and they decide, when I run this session, I'm going to lead with certain values, and you're not just running a session. Right? Anyone can put cones down and say, go through the cones and kick the ball. But when someone feels the passion and the certainty because they've done this and they're not just saying it, they lived it, they do it, this is what they do. The kids, you could have two people do the same exercise, but one gets more juice out of the player than the other. And it just comes from the first your own belief, then your ability to lead others, and then even your other coaches feel that, like, yeah, we're this is who we are. And I feel like as somebody who's like lazy and unsure and stuff like that, it's going to be very hard to project that unless you're a really good actor. But even that is, I'm sure, you would burn out over time.
Yeah. And how important do you feel like it is, as far as, you kind of touched on this already, but as far as client results between you and the kids and the families that you work with, but like how important has that been in just like the role of where you're at now with everything?
Oh, that's what they're paying for, right? Yeah. They're not as much as they might like my personality or that I'm nice to their kid. They're there because they believe that by having their kid in our facility, their kid will make progress in the sport that they like to play. And so we enjoy the training and we have fun, but the kids, they work really hard. Like, for example, in a session yesterday, for 1 hour, the kid got 1,200 touches.
That's impressive.
Yeah, like for so a kid like that same kid, they went to their team practice and only got like 250. So you could imagine 1,000 more touches and how many more reps. And so when parents drop their kid off in there, they know their kid is going to be working really hard.
Hmm.
And because of that, then when the kid's on the field, their confidence is higher. They've earned their confidence. They've went through the fire. So now come game day, it's like, no, I've done this all week. There's no way that
Yeah.
I'm not going to battle you.
Yeah. Do you guys track how many touches?
Some of the kids bring the player maker straps and
Yeah,
attach it to their shoes, and then the parents will send me a screenshot like, "Oh, this was a lot of touches today."
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And I had a funny conversation with someone about this the other day, but and it probably like when you started training kids, I mean, the industry back then was very different. It's not, I mean, now think about how competitive it is just in your area, but like, um, just all around the US. I mean, every single day there's club coaches that are getting into this, there's PE teachers, like there's all these people now that are getting into coaching and training. Um, but on your end, like when you think about just club soccer as a whole, it's like, why do you feel like private training it actually exists?
So in the summertime and in the wintertime, we have teams. And so I get to experience this myself. Inside of a team session, there is not enough time to give individuals the necessary feedback for them to become better as an individual. You need to allocate that time to make the team first organized, right? If you have a philosophy of play that you want to instill in the kids, that takes a lot of time to go and say, hey, when the ball's in this situation, I want this kind of pressure. When we have the ball, we're going to play like this. That right there, that can be an hour and a half by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within that hour and a half, you could make small points like, hey, when you go to pass the ball, a little bit more like this, but it's not the same thing as if they just focus on their pass, like, a few hundred times, and each iteration of it has that same feedback. Hey, okay, now a little bit more like this, a little bit more like this. And that's why I think the private training exists, because if you don't do that, you could actually, I've seen this happen to so many kids I work with where they're training with us and they make a team like Red Bulls, which now they're at the pinnacle of the sport. And I don't see them until their season's over. They come back and I'm like, wow, that kid's touch got a little bit worse. And it's because they're in the team environment 3 days a week and then they're going to tournaments on the weekend. So for 5 days a week, they're in this team setting, but they're not getting as many touches, as many reps, as much feedback as an individual. And they could actually, even though they're playing all week, go backwards.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah, well, a funny stat that I like to tell people is in the Premier League, which is one of the biggest leagues in the world, the average time a professional spends on the ball, and take a guess, and people say 10 minutes, and I
No.
go 52 seconds,
Yeah.
53 seconds they'll get to spend with the ball in the game. The ball is also out of bounds for almost half of it. How do you get better if you're not one, you only get the ball for a minute, and the other half of the game, the ball's out of bounds, so you're not even making decisions or interacting with the play.
Right.
It's an impossible equation. So that's why I think private training exists, and I think that's why parents who want their kid to be at an elite level would they do it. Also, too, depending on how strong someone's program is, another reason why we have such a high retention rate is because local travel teams, they don't have good coaches. A lot of time it's a parent coach. A lot of time it's a Joey Bag of Donuts guy who's doing this on the side for $30 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't really care, and they're not even in shape. They don't even look like a soccer player. So the
Mm-hmm.
parents are like, I want more for my kid. I don't want to drive to 3 hours away to play. So I'll just bring them to this private training place where the guys there are really serious and
Right.
get that coaching and then be able to play locally.
Right.
And that's been a good combination for a lot of the kids we work with.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's professionally done. And that's why I think there's so much I've just seen this so clear, probably more over the last 6 months than I have over the last 15 years. But there's just there's so many different levels of just coaches, like people that get into this industry, people that, you know, sustain and do this for a long period of time, and people who do it for a couple of months. And I've always thought through this where it's like, to be a solid coach, it's like, I don't think someone has to be, you know, the best player in the world to go
No.
into coaching. Like I've never believed that. I mean, I wasn't. I was like the slowest guy on every team I've ever played on. But I do know that like the quality of coaching, it has to be so much better than what kids are getting in club. Otherwise, that
Why
coach
bother?
has a really challenging time staying in business.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it does come back down to the service that you provide. You know, even like something simple like landscaping. Some people, when they cut the grass, they leave a mess. Some
Yeah.
people, they make sure it's clean. Some people, when they coach, they give really good feedback. Some people say, like, one of my biggest pet peeves is a coach will be like, better first touch.
Yeah.
Wait,
How?
what are you talking about? Can you show me what you're talking about? Because obviously, when the ball came to me, I wasn't trying to take a bad touch. I know I should take a good first touch, but like, so like just in like the verbiage the coach uses and the way they explain things. And another one too is you'll have a coach who thinks they're a really good coach because they talk a lot and use big words.
Mhm.
So like they're trying to be a good coach
Right.
and give them as much as they can, but it's like filling up a teacup with a firing hose.
Yeah. They want to
So,
sound.
yeah, exactly. It's more about themselves. So it's funny, but the best coaches that I've seen, they talk very simply, but each word they use counts for something. And you know, just economy of language, a lot of coaches simply don't have it. They don't know how to explain things correctly. And if they do know what is the proper feedback to give for what they're working on, the articulation is so poor that even though they knew what was supposed to be done, they can't give that to the player. And it doesn't take somebody who's Ronaldinho or Messi to explain. It takes somebody who knows how to coach or how to teach to do it. And one of the best youth coaches I've seen, maybe some people have seen him on YouTube, Coach Rory Soccer. I'm in a couple of group chats with him. He wasn't a player; he was a baseball guy, but he is so excellent at explaining things that even though I've spent my whole life in soccer, I learned from him.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah. So I don't think you have to be the best player, so long as you know what you're talking about, what you're looking at, and how to explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as kids can understand it and apply it
Yep.
quickly. Doesn't take them 6 months to figure it out. It takes them 6 seconds.
Yeah. And another thing too, now with the iPads and all the other distractions in the world, if your coaching point is 3 minutes long, that kid got 0.
Yeah.
That kid is not going to be able to apply any of it. And that's the difference. And the parents can see it. Kid gets something versus like they still look confused as they go through the exercise. And that's, I feel like I don't even know what some of these club coaches or teams, what their training sessions must look like. Like when we get some of these kids, I'm like, what were you doing prior to this?
Right.
You know, like how did you get to 12 years old and you can't pass the ball?
Yeah.
How did this?
Yeah. They're standing in lines waiting.
Standing in lines, doing a lot of shooting, or they just only scrimmage.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. But so there is definitely a need for private training. And then on top of that, if you could stack on values, one of the things that we try to do is in the side of the training session, we'll make a coaching point regarding the skill, and then we'll also allot that week for here's a value point or a value coaching point where it's like like this past week, one of the things that we were saying to the kids was, do you guys know anybody who's celebrated for being lazy? I go, no, you know, like that really lazy person that everyone thinks is awesome. Can you just name them real quick? I forgot their name. I go, that doesn't exist. But a hardworking person, anywhere you go in the world, is respected. You go from here to Asia to Europe. If you work really hard, it's respected. So do you want to be the lazy person that no one knows or the hardworking person that everyone respects? Hardworking. All right, for the next 45 seconds, let's see who the hardest worker is. Go. And a parent sees that and hears that, and that their kid is like
Yeah.
It's a different level.
Right. Very different than, hey, here's how to do the step over.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're right. And now you can imagine that kid has that phrase in the back of their head. I want to be a hardworking person. How am I going to show that? As
Right.
they're doing the things, and then you're giving them the feedback. So the motivation is high, the reps are intense. It's
Right.
it's the perfect formula for success.
Right. And that's the stuff that sticks with kids beyond your facility. That makes the biggest difference long term for that kid when they grow up, is hearing that type of messaging constantly.
Yeah, my one of my favorite ones that I do sometimes is, would you guys ever let a brain surgeon operate on you if their shoes were untied? It's like, how could you be a soccer player with your shoes untied? Stuff like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Right?
that.
It looks sloppy, right? So can you imagine a coach wanting to put you in the game and your shoes are untied? It's not good, right?
Yeah,
I always hear the parent section get a couple chuckles after that one.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. So I got two more questions for you. So if someone lived with you for a month, and this is like a coach who is starting out, and they're like, oh man, like I would love to be like Stefano. Like, what do you think is like your, just from the perspective of being a business owner, what do you think is like your superpower, like your main thing that you could be like, hey, if you lived with me for a month, you would see this?
Um, the action. People would be like, wait, you did that and that and that and that, and then you did 6 hours of training.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when the person called you at 9:30 at night, you still answered the phone. Yep. Oh, you emailed me at 10:30. At 10:31, I gave you a response.
Mhm.
Just the almost the like all day, every day work rate. I think a lot of people. I actually had to stop doing that because people would text me and I would text them back and they'd be like, "It's late." I'm like, "You did this."
Why are you texting me back so late?
Yeah, I'll text you in the morning. I'm going to bed now. It's like, wait, you texted me at 10:30 when I was in bed with my wife and kid. But okay, sure. So I stopped. So I actually wait till the morning at like 9 o'clock to respond. But they'd be like, I think they'd be impressed with the level of action. Even stuff like, or I think they'd be impressed with the coaching education that we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's been like for me as someone running this, been the most rewarding thing, seeing the coaches apply the values that we want to give in the sessions. That's for me. We have a guy who's working with us, and when he started, he had no coaching experience. And now for our 8 o'clock session, that's the most advanced session that we offer. I can leave them there alone, and I know that it's a really good session still.
Yeah, they get the job done.
Yeah, like really, really good energy and coaching points are hit. But so I think the amount of stuff I do, for some people would be unbearable. But
yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because I actually had this misconception when I started my business. Like, it took me 3 months to figure this out. When I first started, it was like, okay, well, man, if I have my own business, I'm just going to be able to like chill because I don't have to work for anyone. And then I remember it was like 3 months in, I was like, okay, something's not right. It's like, I need to treat this the same as I did when I was like training in the summer in between my college seasons. And I needed to like actually go in harder. And like, it was like a switch. It was like, once that happened, I was like, that just became my new norm. Like, working from early all the way through the day, because running the sessions for you, that's probably like
that's the gravy.
that's like yeah, you can do that with your eyes closed. But it's like all the other stuff, I think people lose sight of what it actually takes to run this as a high powered type of business. And they want to just train more kids, but they're not thinking about all of this stuff. Because especially, if you're working with 250 people, the amount of text, emails, conversations, all that stuff, like, you can't hide from that. Like, somebody has to do it. But have you been like that the whole time with your business, or did that like kick in when you started to do this full time? Like, I'm curious, how did you develop that?
I've always been good about getting back to people and answering. But the the thing that really motivates me every day is that I believe that the opportunity I got to have this facility is from God, and I think it's my duty to make sure that I serve all the families we get to work with. So from that perspective, I always have a strong desire to do my best, even when people are difficult or texting late at night. I always feel like it's more honoring to God that I work hard and I provide the best service possible, even when I really don't feel like it or somebody's being completely unfair. Um, it's still within me, in the back of my head, like God gave you this facility. You're just gonna, and He's giving you this opportunity to work with this person. You're just gonna blow them off. Like I always think of it as like slapping God in the face, almost.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's where my motivation to be in it and on it all day really comes from.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because it would feel disrespectful if you aren't that way.
Right. I pray, could you make this clear? And He gives me a facility, and it's and like another thing too, it passed on first inspection, which for a soccer facility,
Never happens.
that's there's so many stupid little things, like not just having fire extinguishers, but the ticket on the fire extinguisher being the correct code or something. Like there's all little, they could do anything they want when they walk in there. And this old Italian guy walks into the facility and goes, he looks at the turf, he goes, "How is the turf staying on the floor?" And they're like, "They glued it." He's like, "All right, good. Here you go." Like that was it. Didn't even like open the doors to like the different rooms. Just was like, "All right, you're good." It's like
Yeah.
it's such a God thing, that like now when people are contacting me to train, I'm gonna just blow them off. Is just that I would feel uncomfortable doing that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And last thing before we go, what does being a coach mean to you?
I used to think it meant just improving someone's skills, but now I look at it more as you're molding somebody to have a certain set of values, and that could be good or bad depending on how you want to coach or what values you show. So for me, it's pouring into younger kids and shaping them to be the best person they can be, and as a byproduct, they'll become a good player as well.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing, man. That's cool. And is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you would want coaches to know about you?
To know about me, nah, I don't really, I really don't live an interesting life.
Me too.
I go home every day to my wife and child, and I work, and sometimes I think about vacation, but I usually just work really hard. So that's, I guess, it's not, even though I've hit this point of success, which I think it's more God given than my own doing.
Yeah.
Um, I think people would kind of laugh at, like, even though I have this success, you would think like I would have a nicer car.
Never.
I'm ecstatic that I have a Honda Ridgeline. I'm ecstatic that, and I'm not even own it. I lease a Honda Ridgeline, and I think of that thing as like a Ferrari. Like I think
Yeah.
people would be like so, like couldn't believe how excited about stupid things like and then when I first started, I remember like having money for gas to go to the field was like, oh, can I get there today? And to
Right.
be where I am now, and I'm glad that I get to be, I get to stay humble and have things that I think they're not flashy, but I enjoy them.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah. And it's so funny how people attribute like money to like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this car and get this watch, and this guy on Instagram does that, so I'm gonna, and it's
Right.
and it's really cool to talk to someone that doesn't think that way, because I mean, yeah, like if you lived with me for a month, you would be probably equally as bored as you are
Yeah.
with your day to day, because it's the same for me. Work really hard and then spend time with family, and that's it. Like there's zero flashy stuff happening in my life. Nothing to prove to anybody. And that's really cool to hear from you, man. So if someone wanted to look you up online, how would they see your Instagram?
They could find me at Coach Stefano Soccer on Instagram and Facebook at Coach Stefano Soccer. And I think if you Google Coach Stefano Soccer, I come up as well. I think AI has actually a very nice paragraph, which I was actually really happy to see that AI, when you Google Coach Stefano Soccer, it says like a soccer training company that bases its values on this, this, and this. And it was
Cool.
actually, yeah, it was really, it was neat. I was excited to see that. So yeah, Coach Stefano Soccer.
Cool, man. I'll link that stuff below. And awesome, man. Well, thanks for jumping on here. We've been talking for 94 minutes.
There we go.
This is the longest one I've ever done, I think. So
I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man.